Okay, so I was listening to Abraham Hicks again this morning, and something struck me. Acceptance. We don't understand, I think, what acceptance actually is and what its purpose is and why it's so freaking important. And I'm not talking about acceptance of just everything blindly. What I'm talking about is accepting that the only thing, in honest truth, the only thing that we have control over is ourselves. That includes not your emotions. Your emotions you don't really control, you experience them. But it includes your body, you control that. It includes what you choose to focus on in your mind. And it includes whether or not you decide to connect to your higher self or not. These are all things you control. It's the only thing you control is you. Everything else around you is controlled by your perception, as well as beliefs, which is affected by other people's perceptions and beliefs. So I would like to say it's controlled by you, but there's more to it. It's a little more complicated. So instead of saying that you control it, what I will tell you is you experience it, and you will experience it on a personal level. It's individualized for everybody. And this is important because these individual experiences are needed in order for each one of us to grow. And if we're not willing to allow people to have their individual experiences, we're literally depriving them of the opportunity to grow and find their highest purpose. And the reason why I bring this up is because the story I was listening to with Abraham Hicks, she was talking to a lady about an experience the lady had. And the lady, I could tell as soon as she started asking the question, she wasn't asking the question because she actually wanted the answer she got. But she was asking the question because she wanted to feel validated in her emotional reaction to what she had witnessed. And what it was is she was in a retirement home, and I guess a couple pastors had come in and they were preaching. And of course, there was a lot of fear mongering, right? And these elderly people who are close to death, the last thing this woman felt they needed was to be scared that they might go to hell and burn for eternity. So it upset her. And that will happen with us. If you don't have a connection to your higher self, if you haven't learned how to trust your higher self, and that, everything we experience is based on our beliefs that we choose to believe, which is why it's so important to be picky what things you focus on in your mind. You can't necessarily control every thought, but you can control what you give energy to. So it's extremely important because we don't know what other people need, okay? It's just that simple. We don't know what they need. Hell, we barely know what we need. Our higher selves do, though. So if we don't have the connection to our higher selves, and we don't know the importance of these little experiments that, at first they're experiments, but eventually they just become acts of faith, where you feel like, oh, I should take my coat today, and it's sunny out, and you're like hot outside, and you're like, why the frick would I take my coat today? But you do it anyways because that thought popped into your head, and you're like, whatever, I'll take my coat. And then 3 hours later, it's pouring rain and cold because your higher self knew it was going to rain, right? You didn't, but it just gave you a little nudge. Hey, do this. Those are the moments our faith builds. Those are the moments we begin to trust ourselves. Those are the moments we start to understand that we're not doing this actually alone. But if you don't have that relationship, you are going to have these emotional reactions, and you're going to want to feel like you're justified in them, because you're not going to be able to fully understand that every experience meant for somebody is meant to happen, whether you like it or not. We cannot control what other people experience, and we can't presume to know what's best for them. It's just not fair. It's just not right, especially when we don't know what's best for ourselves yet, because you haven't connected to your higher self yet. So acceptance is really important, and this can be really hard, especially if we see something that doesn't sit right with us. And I get that there's some instances, where physical harm and extreme abuse is occurring, where I think, in some cases, as people, we're meant to be the karma but not necessarily, in a violent way. I mean, maybe sometimes it is. Sometimes it's for safety purposes. But sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's about taking away people's power, exposing truths, because that can change everything. Truth is powerful. And often, the only way to expose the truth is to be genuine and authentic in yourself. Right? Like we want everyone to have their own experience. We want everyone to know that I accept that they're having their own experience, and I'm not going to judge them for it. I'm not going to criticize them for it. I'm not going to hold them morally accountable because their morals don't match mine or their values don't match mine. I mean, these are all personal things, and I'm not going to judge them for it. But what I will do is I'll do my best to be as authentic in myself as possible, so that when they do look at me, and if they do wonder what the hell's wrong with that lady, it'll always stick in their mind the contrast I have provided between who I am, living in my peace and in my harmony, in my resonance, and who they are struggling because they don't feel resonance or harmony. And you can really tell when someone doesn't feel resonance or harmony, because they'll be emotionally dysregulated, right? I mean, that's part of healing your trauma, is learning how to become in harmony, learning how to find peace, learning how to find your resonance, like realizing what your resonance is, like realizing what you really are. And that's tricky. It really is tricky, because so many of us, especially, I think the hardest part for me was first at realizing I didn't know who I was, and that I had been living a lie my entire life, pretending to be somebody, and having some severely underdeveloped parts of me that I've had buried away since childhood, and parts of me as an adult that never got to develop, right? Some of them I still not sure when or if they'll come out yet. Maybe eventually. We're getting there. But it's because, again, so many of us who are recovering from trauma, we don't get the acceptance that we need. We just don't. We get labeled with mental disorders, and we get diagnosed with this and that, and told we're wrong and that we need help and we need medication. But we don't get acceptance. This world would change if people could practice acceptance, genuine acceptance. It doesn't mean people are not to be held accountable for their choices. Everyone has to be responsible for what they choose to do. So it just is. But accepting without judgment is something we need to practice more of in this world. And it's okay. You can even accept that sometimes some people are going to really piss you off. Just like you're going to have to accept that some people aren't going to like you, etc., etc. There's so many types of acceptance, and they all need to be practiced completely. And this is just a quick note for all of those, my phone's about to die, a quick note for all of those out there who are in a leadership or a mentorship thing. When you are being asked a question by somebody, and you can feel it, you can tell, right? Maybe you're more aware than them, that they are actually asking the question because they want you to validate the way they're feeling. Don't address that, okay? That's not the point. Abraham Hicks did it so well. She said such a great example. She did not even address the fact that the woman was actually seeking validation. She just expanded the woman's consciousness. She just showed her how to see something differently and helped her see things in a new light. And that's what we need to do. Expand each other's consciousness, not judge or criticize or even point out the obvious sometimes. Anyways, I hope you guys are having a great day. I'm going to go now. Okay, bye.